Hey YouTube family, welcome to Perfectly Parker. So today I thought I'd talk about the grieving period I went through after Parker was diagnosed with autism. So with most parents with children with a disability, we go through a grieving period. And you're basically grieving the life you envision for your child. Now, I'll tell you what I wish somebody had told me when I was going through this. It doesn't mean you don't love your child for who they are. And it doesn't mean that you don't appreciate your child. And it just means that you're grieving the struggles that they are going to go through, okay? That's exactly what that means. So don't feel guilty, because when I was going through this, I didn't realize it at the time until I got to the depression stage. I felt guilty because I felt like there are people out there who can't have children or who are in worse situations than Parker, and here I am basically sad about what she's going to go through. We are human. You can't help your emotions. You can't help how you feel, and you shouldn't feel guilty for feeling that way. So I want to start off by saying that don't feel bad. But when I went through this, like I said, I didn't realize I was going through it until I looked back at it and I said, wow, I literally went through all the stages. But it started off basically with the shock and denial phase. Not necessarily, at first I did think, maybe she didn't have it, but after the doctor went over everything, I made up in my mind that she did. I still was on the fence about if she had moderate. In my head, I just felt like if we can get her to talk, then maybe she wouldn't be considered moderate. So definitely went through a period of shock there at first and a little bit of denial, and then I immediately went into the anger phase. Now, I went through a period, and it was short, where I was mad. I was mad. I was mad at her pediatrician because I felt like she should have did something sooner. I was mad at my husband because I felt like he should have been a little bit more upset, and he should have been diving into it like I was doing it. He should have been reading 4 books a day, 20 podcasts a minute. He should have just been in it. Everybody handles situations different, but at the time, I did get mad. I was mad at the early step person who came to my house. She had took a form out of things she had to check off for, and she just automatically X'd out the autism. We didn't even go through that, and I felt like if maybe she had of, and just basically playing the blame game. And that just makes for a miserable person for you and everybody around you. Well, I quickly saw how irrational I was being. It's nobody's fault. It didn't take me long to come to that conclusion. I just was angry. And then came the bargaining phase, is what I call it. Bargaining / depression. So after I started going through all this, and I started reading and looking up symptoms and signs and all this kind of stuff, I got in my head that if I can just get her to talk, we would at least be mild. We would be considered mildly autistic. If I can just get her to talk. And so I dived into tons of stuff. And it's so much stuff out there. Sometimes it's hard to decipher what's what. You have people they give their child fish oil, they do all type of supplements, and a good way to spend a lot of money, basically. And of course, every child is different. What may work for one may not work for another. So getting into a lot of stuff. I was in school for my master's. I decided I'm putting that on hold. My daughter needs me. I'm going to dedicate myself into helping her because she comes first. We had already had some personal stuff that was going on where we were considering moving to Texas at the time, and this just put the nail in the coffin. We wanted more resources for our child, so we decided we were going to move, and I decided that I was going to quit school and basically devote myself to her and trying to get her to speak. So around this time, we sold our house and we moved to Pennsylvania, and I took a travel nurse assignment. So while down there, I basically turned a room into a classroom. And my sole mission was basically to get her to speak. If I can get her to speak, the rest will be downhill. That is my mission. That's what we're going to do. And we're going to get it done. So I printed out tons of stuff, turned a room into a classroom. We had lessons every day. And I kind of regret doing this because when we were down there, she did receive therapies. She received speech, she received occupational therapy. And then I was pushing her. Now, I've had people tell me, well, at least you did because you got her to where she's at now. She's in school doing well. And yes, that's true. I did. But in hindsight, I wouldn't push her so hard because now she has a little aversion to schoolwork, and I partially think it's because of the way I pushed her so much. And then on top of that, it was just too much. You have therapies 4 times a week, and then you're doing therapies at home for anybody. That's just a lot. And then I was putting unrealistic expectations on her. Basically, not saying that I didn't think she could speak, but I had it in my mind within a couple weeks, if I push her hard enough, we're going to speak. We're going to talk. And it's putting unrealistic expectations on her, and it's stressing myself out because I knew she would get there, but within a couple weeks, you know? So I did. I dived into it. I went head in. I read stuff. I did a lot of stuff, a lot of research, and I just had in my mind that we're going to get her to speak. So as you can imagine, things didn't turn out how I wanted it to. Not to say she didn't make a lot of progress, because she did within that short amount of time. She made so much progress, but sometimes you can't see the forest for the woods type saying, and that's not what I wanted. Even though she was speaking more, I wanted her to be speaking in complete sentences. I wanted her to be telling me what was going on, and I just wasn't seeing the progress that we made. So, of course, if I'm not seeing the progress, what comes next? Okay, now I'm getting sad. I'm getting upset, not with her, but with myself. I'm just not doing what I need to be doing as a mother. Maybe instead of therapy 4 times a week, we need to look into therapy Saturday and Sunday. Now, this is kind of where my husband came in, and he's like, whoa, slow it down. You know, we're doing a lot. And I became depressed because I felt like, well, maybe if I had been pushing her this hard longer, maybe when I started this at 2, and just basically blaming myself. And you know what happens when you start blaming yourself? The what if questions come. What if I had said something when she was 2? Maybe we could have got a diagnosis. Instead of just getting speech and OT, maybe I should have suggested autism. What if I had spoke up with the early step teacher, early step person who came to the house, and she had a form that had autism right there, and she didn't even consider it. She just put it to the side, and I didn't think anything of it. What if I had said, go ahead and do it? And the what if questions just kept coming, which is a horrible thing to do yourself. It is. And I started getting down on myself. And I went through this period for a while, and I'll talk more about what I did to actually get out of that slump. And I did. And when I finally did get out of that slump, and I just got to the point where basically, you know how something just kind of hits you upside your head, and I was looking at the progress that she was making. I was looking at other parents with children with autism, and they were saying, oh my God, she speaks a lot. I mean, I know she's not speaking the way you want her to, but shy, she's doing good. And seeing her compared to other children, of course, some children were speaking more, but I was able to see that. I was. And I was able to appreciate how far she had come. Now, of course, I'm saying all this within a 5-minute or however long video, but this was about a year of all this going on. And I really beat myself up a lot during this time, and I really got down, and I questioned if I was a good mother, basically. And you will, you know, like I said, if you're going through this, you will, but don't do that. It's not your fault. It's nobody's fault. You will go through a pity party, basically. That's what it's called. You have a pity party, and there's nothing wrong with that either. We're human. We all have emotions. I think the main thing is that you get up out of that slump, because you're no good to anyone in it. And that's why I put that quote in the beginning of the video, because I was reading a book and I heard that quote and it stuck with me a while ago, and it stuck with me, and even to this day, because I was a planner. I like to plan things out, what Parker will be doing, and you can't plan these things. Sometimes you have to go with the flow, and you have to appreciate what you have in front of you. And it did take me some time to get to that point, with a lot of help from my husband. It took me a lot to get to that point. So, and a lot of parents, they were telling me a lot, and that's why I say, and I'm gonna do a video on that, that's why support groups help so much, guys. Please, if you're on the fence about anything with support groups, join a support group. It helped me. It helped me come to the light, basically. And even if you don't want to go in person, there are tons of groups on Facebook, and if there's not one in your area, start one. I guarantee you it's a lot of people around who would join it. Because find your community, find these people that will help you out so much and help you basically come to your senses. And they will. So not too long this week, but so if you don't take anything from this video, I just want you to know that if you are feeling these things, don't feel guilty for feeling them. We're human. We will feel them. Okay? And don't be hard on yourself. It's nobody's fault. It's not your fault. It's nobody's fault. And it doesn't mean that you don't love your child for who they are. I absolutely love my daughter. I truly do. I love her. And honestly, I would not change her for the world. But I would be lying if I didn't say that even now, I do grieve for her, because I grieve the struggle that she's going to go through, the obstacles that she's going to go through. And even some days, I do go through my little slumps. And you think one day you're doing fine, you got this under control, and then it can be a small little trigger. Somebody her age may say something. Somebody her age hitting a milestone, and then boom, there you go. I'm feeling a certain way, and I'm feeling sad. But the main thing is you get up out of that and do what you need to do, basically. And it'll be okay. It will. One thing I did not say in the first video, I forgot. If I mention anything, or even if I don't, if it's anything that I use, I will put it in the description box. So please look at the resources I have down there. I put a lot of books down there. Well, 99% of my books that I put in my description are Audible. I listen to tons of Audible books. People ask me, Shy, how are you going through 5 or 6 books a week? Audible. I have an hour commute to work, and I get a lot of reading, listening done. So that's the way, if you want to read more, all my books for the most part are Audible down there. So check those out. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye.